So speaking of Game Pass and speaking of other games,
Mhm.
Zot popped in earlier, said hello, welcome in, first time chatting. Came over from ESO and D2. You're a Destiny player. I assume that's the D2, not Diablo 2. I cannot believe they came in. We're like, yeah, D2, not taken. We got it. That's like CCR. Like, wow, I Googled no other bands. We're going to go with CCR. Now I got to ask which CCR you're talking about. So, you're a Destiny player, and you and I both played ESO.
Mm-hmm.
As a new Final Fantasy player, I think both those games complement Final Fantasy well, but we don't have a natural overlap with them, as opposed to like World of Warcraft has a natural overlap and they don't complement each other. Like I enjoy both because they're similar, but you're actively competing with your time.
I think a key aspect is not just a competition in time, but it's also competition in style. When you look at MMOs, like especially, and this is just my high level observation, there's a vast majority of MMO players who are more nomadic and willing to try out different things, and they're just like, hey, I'm here to have fun. But there's also an impassioned group that is like, this is the MMO to rule them all others must die. In fact, actually, I think even you saw like there's a clip that was sent to me. I might make a video on it if I get time. A clip that was sent to me from Asmongold, who was researching somebody who was coming in pretending to be a Final Fantasy XIV Andy, but they were really just like a WoW player, and they were just trying to say like, you don't belong here, Asmund, get out. And it's like, yeah, they're mirroring, some of that aspect that we've seen, but they're obviously like, the cool thing about Twitch over something of YouTube is like, Twitch, he was able to go look at their entire chat history. Same thing with Reddit.
They only sent 31 messages.
Yeah.
So one of the earlier messages was like, imagine playing Final Fantasy XIV. It's
gross.
Like, oh.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, exactly. So
you're just a dick to everybody.
Yeah. So okay. Like, but in terms of that, like when we look at something like Destiny, I think that it becomes something way more, acceptable, especially within Final Fantasy and Destiny. I don't know much about ESO because I haven't played it, but like I don't know if there's a lot of animosity between like the communities, but I see a lot less animosity between the Destiny community and a Final Fantasy XIV community, namely because I think that a 14 player, plays Destiny a lot. A lot of 14 players play Destiny. A lot of Destiny players will come and eventually try out Final Fantasy XIV, but Destiny is a shooter in that regards. It does have things that would attract someone who likes 14. Like you have grinds, you got a lot of horizontal progression, you have raids and dungeons and things like that. So there are things that it's like, oh, I understand a common language, but the gameplay being also so very different, it also leads itself to saying like, oh, I'm not stepping out on 14 by playing Destiny. Like it's not like 14 has like this amazing, shooter game and PvP and whatever. It's just a whole different style. And so, and Destiny also has that very seasonally dripped in model with the once a year expansion. And I say once a year, but there's been a delay, and I get the kids knocking. But I think essentially there's just not a lot of friction there because of the gameplay being so different. Where if all of a sudden you're playing another tab targeting MMORPG, right. The question is why aren't you supporting 14? What do you think?
It's subscription based, and so like World of Warcraft, for a lot of people, they don't want to pay more than one subscription to a game that's trying to ask for so much of their time, which is very logical. And so I see people like Glenn on Hell is a controller player, plays Final Fantasy, plays ESO. Jebro Unity plays a ton of MMOs, including both Final Fantasy 14 and ESO. So I don't think of them as inherently competitive. I think of ESO's price model, as far as I can remember and as far as I see from afar, they just got an expansion, as very similar to like Guild Wars, where there's like these big chunks of content that come at one time, and they both have like really cool systems that are really complex at the start, but as you dive into them, they're really rewarding. Things like the way their big scale PvP works and stuff like that, where the community is given all these tools and it turns into something that like, I don't think the devs developed the final product. I think the devs said, here's a set of tools, go make something out of it. And the community's like, this is what we made. And sometimes the devs are like, okay, that's not what I intended. But like, it's, there is something a little bit beautiful about that. And Final Fantasy is a much more scripted roller coaster experience, right? Where you're on these, especially during the MSQ. During the MSQ, you are on a tram in a zoo and you're looking out and you're like, there's giraffes to my left, there's elephants to my right. And you're like, can I go down and pet those? Can I go feed the giraffes? And you're like, you can. How do I do that? it would be best if you did that after you were finished with the tram. Like, we kind of want you to finish your 300-hour tram experience before you get off and go explore the rest of the park. There's a lot of really great things, and it's going to be a lot more free flowing once you're off. But like, it is a very, and games like, you know, Guild Wars, ESO, and stuff like that are much more, and like Destiny is very seasonal, very seasonal. And you never have to worry about if their pay model conflicts with ours, because their pay model changes every 3.5 weeks. And so, like,
true story. Like,
so,
it's
like, I don't know.
It's ridiculous. Like, it's to the point where just raise the base price of your expansion rather than so much stuff is a la carte. So much is a la carte where, like, I literally, my returner guide is like, let's talk about the payment model just so you don't get in, because the gameplay
and
is
I'd like to
good.
make it clear, it is July 6th at 9:06 a.m. This should be relevant at that time.
Yes.
Like,
in 3 months' time, it could be completely different, to the point where I've even advocated for an optional subscription for Destiny players, just so that they could at least sure up the whole like weirdness that they have. And so for those who don't know, like, the latest thing is that they have dungeons. These are like mini raids, like 3-player raids that are really well done. I've really enjoyed the dungeons, but they are a la carte, or they come in the premium edition of the expansion, which is in my mind ludicrous. I think they should have just raised the base expansion price. Like, the base expansion price could have gone up to $50 or even $60, and then you could have still had the premium edition, just so everybody's on the same page. Because now, like, I was like, imagine the, hey, looking for more, we need one more, must have premium edition, must have spent the extra money on the dungeon. Like, imagine that in 14.
The gameplay's so good.
Oh, the gameplay is so
like, everything
good.
You just said.
Right.
My counter to that has nothing to, like, you're like, yeah, but what do you think about the payment model? Have you shot a gun in Destiny? Does that have to do anything with the payment model? It does. It does. Shoot a gun one time in Destiny. It's transcendent. You will forget all about the pay model. And you're like, well, what's your answer to their seasonal releases? Like, is it annual? Have you shot a gun in Destiny? It's really good. Yeah, but they like locked away legacy content. They went like Disney Vault late, and it made people really mad. Yes, but did you shoot a gun in Destiny? Like the answer to all of it is the gameplay is just so good.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
It's unreal.
And so, and then Destiny is also the perfect model for the hype grind and burnout in that regard. So it's just like, oh, I did it, and then it's like, oh, I'm tired, and then the new season will come out, people will be excited, they'll play it for a little bit, and then they'll take a break, and then the expansion will come out, and then they'll be, you know, it's like, so everybody who's ever come to me and said like, I'm done with Destiny, I've given them 10,000 hours, I'm like, all right, I'll see you in 2 years, bro. Like, I'll see you in 2 years, dude. Like, I'm oh, dude, yeah, I know how mad you can get at Destiny. But yeah, in 2 years time, you know, like, if you truly are done, like, and you're done donezo, and in 2 years, if you're like, especially when you put in those kind of hours into that game, it's like with Final Fantasy, it's like, I'm done. Like, cause people come and say to me, like, I'm done with Final Fantasy XIV. I've given them 10,000 hours and I just can't take it anymore. And it's like, all right, see you in 2 years, dude. Maybe I'll see you around the expansion. Maybe the expansion drops.
You're gonna download it to play with a friend who begged you to come back, and you're gonna go, I'm just playing it tonight, and then you're gonna shoot that gun, or you're gonna throw that grenade, and then you're back.
And then you're back.
Now, I don't, like, every time I play Destiny, I'm like, I assume I'm gonna quit at some point, because I've quit a million times before this. But it's good. It's good. It's so good. It's almost as good as Farmer Girl gifting a sub to Nico. Almost.
Thank you, Farmer.
Thank you. So, anyway,
we want to talk about bulletin boards?
Yeah. I think we just talked for an hour about nothing.